everybody's trying to keep cool and with the heat. Could use a little bit of rain, I guess. Let's start with the public comments. Now, this is not the public hearing yet on the conservation subdivisions. That'll be coming at number 5. So, but this is for anyone else that would like to speak.
I don't have anyone signed up. Did anyone want to speak
The next on any topic.
on public comment?
Right. Okay. Thanks.
Someone told me they would be.
Okay, we'll make it. Okay, item number 3 is additions, deletion. Oh, I should have said, sorry. Paul Caperonis unfortunately was called away to a business meeting at the last minute, so he's not going to be here this evening. I just wanted to make everybody aware of why he was absent. He was kind enough to let me know. Item number 3 is additions, deletions, and adoption of the agenda. I'll start down this way, man.
Okay.
Okay, Bill?
I'm good.
Good.
Mike? Do I have a motion then to approve,
Motion to accept the
to
consent
adopt the
agenda.
agenda? Yeah, thank you.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Mike?
To accept the consent or to adjourn?
To consent the agenda.
To adopt the
As it
agenda.
is.
Okay.
Adopt the agenda, yes.
Okay.
Sorry.
All those in favor? Thank you. Which reminds me, put it on stun. That wasn't my phone. It could have been. Okay, item number 4 is the consent agenda. Given we've adopted the agenda, can I have a motion to approve the consent agenda items?
So motion?
Do I have a second? Okay, Bill, thank you. All those in favor? Thank you. Item number 5 is the public hearing to consider amendments to the zoning ordinance to allow conservation subdivisions as a conditional use in R40 and RA40 zoning districts. And we have one person, Lori Bailey.
Where's your partner in crime today?
Well, you know, sometimes you get flaccid.
Good to see you.
So thank you for the opportunity to speak. First off, I'd just like to thank the council for being proactive and looking at the ordinance and making adjustments to kind of keep us focused and aligned to the vision and the goals and objectives of Wesley Chapel, and much like we'll be talking solar, farm, solar, whatever we're calling it. In the future, I think it's really important to make sure that we stay on top of them. However, I would just like to call for special attention to the fact that, as we've heard a number of different forums, particularly the planning meeting and other things, is our ordinances may be well written, but if they're not enforced and upheld, then they're pretty much not of much use. And so I just encourage this council and future councils to ensure that adhering to the ordinances, and the ordinance need to be changed, go through the proper process to do that, but try to avoid doing so many variances and deviations from the ordinances as written, because I feel like that's part of the reason we've had a lot of the controversy and discussions recently of trying to fix. So just encourage the council to stick to that and support the planning board in particular as they do it, encourage them to do the same. So thank you.
Thank you, Lori. I actually forgot to say I opened the public hearing.
It was understood pretty
I know, but formal process. Do I have anybody else that would like to speak on the conservation subdivision ordinance? Okay, I close the public hearing. Item number 6 is a public hearing to consider the conversion of .742 acres from Dillwood Park due to NCDOT project U3467, which widens NC 84 from 2 to 4 lanes. And that is from, just so everyone's aware, from where railroad extension will hit 84, which is just west of the Deal, it's called the Deal Farm, if I remember correctly, up to Waxhaw Ridge, well, actually up to Hickory Tavern, essentially, for this part of the project. And we will be considering an approval of Resolution 2018-05 to move forward with the proposed conversion. So I'm going to open the public hearing. I see no one has signed up for that particular aspect. Do I have anyone that wants to speak on the conversion of land? I can speak to essentially what that's about real briefly, since nobody has signed up. But essentially, as they're widening the road between Southbrook Church and Dogwood Park, there was a question of whether or not Southbrook Church on the north side would lose some parking spaces versus some land on the south side of 84 currently, which our fence is roughly back 50 or 60 feet from the roadway anyway, along with Dogwood Park is. And so we thought it was in the best interest of the community as a whole to consider allowing the road to move slightly towards the park rather than equal both ways. What that entails, though, is that because we had accepted and applied for and accepted a grant from the North Carolina Park and Recreation Trust Fund of $500,000 and the 6 acres of property is going to be a park in perpetuity. The fact that a piece of the land, even though it's less than 3/4 of an acre, was not going to be parkland anymore. Essentially, what happens is North Carolina Department of Transportation buys the right-of-way. It'll be about $51,000. We were supposed to have had the estimate by the end of May. It's supposed to be end of this month now, or the formal offer. In either case, the town cannot keep that money because, in essence, it was also bought in part by the Park and Recreation Trust Fund grant. So we had a meeting way back in January, I think it was, with the Department of Transportation, the North Carolina Park and Recreation Trust Fund. They were in full agreement that we were doing something that was beneficial to the community, and therefore the only thing we needed to be able to do is take that check and turn around and give it back to them. And we had options of trying to either expand the park further east, because there's no land south or west, the subdivision south of us. And that turned out not to be a viable option, or invest in additional park property, which the town was not prepared to do at the current time. So, either case, so this is really a process that's been asked for by the Park and Recreation Trust Fund. We've advertised it, and we're having a public hearing tonight. So I took a little bit longer than a few seconds, but anyway, that's the idea. So I am going to close the public hearing on the conversion of 0.742 acres as I just noted. Okay, item 7, Finance Officer's Report.
In conjunction with the last item, we needed a motion for the resolution.
I think I was going to put that down further, but it's not on the agenda. You're right. Thank you. Okay. We need to approve Resolution 2018-05, which again is just recognizing the fact that we're converting over a portion of the land, or selling it essentially, to NCDOT to widen 84, which of course improves the traffic flow, and therefore we've explored options, several different options, and
So motion.
that's it. Motion to approve 2018, Resolution 2018-05.
So motion.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Oh,
Thank
quick,
you.
quick question. Did that include the negotiation for the crosswalk?
No,
Okay.
we're still doing it. They're still talking to us. I was going to cover that with the council comments, because I exchanged an email with the group that is the consulting engineers.
Okay.
Okay,
Item 7 now. Finance Officer's Report. Cheryl?
okay. July is the first month of the fiscal year. We have a little revenue and a lot more expenditures. which is typical because you have your beginning of the year expenses. Overall, we're in the hole almost $56,000. So we paid our normal things. Also on the balance sheet, I adjusted the fund balance for the Park and Rec fee in lieu because I took out what we've appropriated this year. So that's been adjusted.
Okay.
The expenditures are the normal beginning of the year, things like the insurance and dues that we have to pay and a quarter of the deputy's salary, as well as our normal expenditures. Does anyone have any questions?
Questions for Cheryl? No?
Cheryl, on the balance sheet, you said you're doing something for Parks and Rec? I don't see that here.
Yeah. Well, we've collected, I think, 108,000 more than that 69, so it was like 177,000. But now this year we've appropriated 108,000 of the Park and Rec fee in lieu, so that leaves less in the balance sheet.
Okay. Thank you.
I just wanted you to be aware, so you weren't surprised by that.
And this is just more general, but we have other funds coming in yet that will be for fiscal year 2017, 2018. Those will not show in the running, whatever you want to call it, try to clarify.
In the budget report?
In the budget report,
Right,
right?
right.
Okay. When we have gotten the last 2017, 2018 payments in, because it's actually revenue income that we get that comes in after the year end, so it's actually positive. Can we get like a final report for the year?
Yeah, and that'll partially be the audit.
Right.
Mhm.
Exactly. Okay, thank you. Thank you. Okay. Anyone have any questions for Cheryl? Okay.
And Cheryl, I think I asked you this in private, but I wanted to get it on record. When do you expect to have the 2017, 2018 fiscal year wrapped up?
Well, officially in October, probably unofficially in September.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, the last checks typically coming in September.
And some of that we estimate, the variance.
Thank you. Okay, item number 8, planning board report. John?
Good evening. Tonight I'm going to go over our last planning board meeting on July 23rd and discuss what's on our agenda, which I just received tonight, for our planning board meeting on August 27th. So on July 23rd, one of the first things we had was Mr. Como joined us and had some nice discussions, so it was good to have another council member visit the planning board. So that was great. Thank you. Some of the things we talked about. He talked to us about your perspective on tree save ordinance, property owners, and we spoke on behalf that we're working on that. So it was some good dialogue with that. And we hope we have another planning board, council member, hopefully at our next planning board. Actually, Paul was going to try and make it to our last one. We didn't hear from him. He was not able to make it. So we're hoping to have Paul or Bill. One of you guys might get a chance to talk between the two.
Date of the next one's the 27th?
27th one.
Okay. That'd be great.
All right, some of the other things we talked about. Solar generating facility. So actually we talked about this at length. Shared a lot of the notes that I brought from our, when I visited you guys last month at the council meeting. Took notes on behalf of what your guys' thoughts were. We spoke about those. Looked at the draft that Shelley put together for us. For instance, one of the things that we're going to change the name of it to a solar power generating facility. So that right now that's the name of the ordinance we're trying to put together for this. Out of that discussion, what came from was what we're going to go ourselves and do some field trips and look at other solar farms, solar generating facilities in the area, do a little, look at, we've been emailing a lot of people, I think a lot of you maybe include on this, whether it's the address of these locations, or video, or some text in the county ordinance for this. So we're continuing to investigate and do some research on this. The goal is to come back with an updated draft for the ordinance, as well as some an updated perspective looking at these farms or generative facilities in person.
Were you able to, I don't know if you guys coordinate, were you able to get a hold of that gentleman, or get the contact they gave you? He handles all the solar farms in North
I left a
Carolina.
message with the gentleman you gave me, but the one that actually called me back was from Duke Power, and he came out and met me out at the Monroe solar facility out there.
Do you remember what his name was?
Yes, it was Wheelis.
Okay, that's his, yeah, okay. I'm gonna make sure that's his,
Yeah.
I'm gonna say underling, but that's his project, so
Second,
that's good,
And
yeah.
I asked him to come speak to the planning board, and he said that he would give me the name of someone who could.
Okay, good.
Oh,
So
great.
he's gonna send that to me. He could not, but he said, he's PR, you know, from Duke Energy, so.
Cool.
Exactly. Excuse me, one of the other things we talked about was trying to bring in an expert who puts these in, and we can bounce questions and answers off of. So we're investigating. This is, one of our high priorities right now that we're looking into, and we hope to have a lot more information at the end of this month's meeting as well. All right.
anything for John? Or are you still going, John? Sorry.
No, I mean that's it on solar farms, I think. Yep. Or sorry, solar power generating facilities.
I hear you just did it too.
I know.
Mike,
It was interesting. It's one thing we discussed was, it's not a farm. It is a business power. Even when you look at the videos, online, and talk to people, we're in business to generate electricity, clean energy. But that's why we don't want to use that term farm. We're not growing food. We're generating electricity.
Mhm.
Instead of producing food, you're producing power though.
That's true.
I don't want to get into that. And one thing I'd like to point out that we had a brief discussion when I was at the meeting was I asked John and his crew to take a look at a section of our tree save ordinance, specifically maintenance in a tree save ordinance or a tree save area. We had a situation where someone had a tree that was dead in a tree save area that was of significant diameter, and they cut down the dead tree. And then, of course, according to our ordinance, the way it's written, is you then have to
Please.
replace the tree. So it's a dead tree, and I don't think that's really what the ordinance was designed to do, to say you've got a dead tree in tree save area in your backyard, and you cut it down. And so I'd ask them to take a look at that.
Well, that was your tree save anyway, so I mean, that's appropriate.
Exactly. Yep. Then there's another one of the topics we discussed, right? We do have a subcommittee looking into, tree save ordinance, looking into, clear cutting for subdivisions. So we're continuing to make progress on that. Ms. Bledsoe's continuing to do the work on that and give some updates. Okay. All right. The last thing we looked at was land use plan amendment process draft. So we're still working on that, still drafting that, it's still on our agenda and something to look at on a regular basis. The last thing was construction trailers. That I think got bumped to next month. So that does put us on this, it is on our agenda for August 27th. So it looks like we have solar generating facility draft, land use plan amendment again, construction sales trailer draft, and continued discussion on preventing clear cutting.
Sounds good.
All right.
Any questions?
We used to stick around for item number 11, where we talk about communication, or excuse me, 11, somewhere on here, it's conservation subdivisions. 12. We stick around until 12, in case there's any questions on that.
Will do.
I want to just come with the planning board. I think the last meeting I heard went a little longer than normal, so I do appreciate that. I appreciate the time and effort.
No, actually, I think the last one we got out pretty early. I think it was like 1 hour long. But we thank you for the.
Maybe one that also. Quick meeting.
The last one was till 10 o'clock.
Oh, so 10?
Yeah, and we were talking about the
It
solar
was such
system.
good time.
Right.
Time flew by.
All
I still want confirmation.
I got one other question on planning and zoning, but it's not for John, and I'm not sure, Tim, are you familiar with this report, or have you seen this, or been updated on it?
I probably.
But we're not updated.
If you have a question.
Well, we are, so.
Okay. Are you up to date on all this stuff?
I may be. I did talk briefly with Shelley about it.
Well, the two things that jumped out at me specifically was one, there was under the commercial development, they talked about Southern Whimsy. Do you have any details you can share with us on that?
They haven't come in lately.
Okay, so it's just, I didn't see this last month, but I saw the report this month.
No, I mean, it's been going on for a year.
Yeah, I do know before I left, I had quite a few discussions with their site plan preparer, and he had actually submitted a plan for me to respond to, and I gave formal review comments to them. That occurred about probably early May when I sent the comments. I did not hear anything until through June 30th.
Well, it's the first time I've seen it on the report.
Right.
And the other question I had under conditional use zoning, item 1 for Five Stones Church, can you give us an update on where we are with that?
Again, before I left, I had contacted them, had some discussion. They had, well, two things. They had come in and wanted to talk to about probably the next phase of some additional development, possibly looking at a school. And we started to talk about the conditional use process. I had also, prior to that meeting, inspected the site and identified some things which were not completed in the previous original conditional use permit, particularly dealing with landscaping and enhancement of the soils to make sure that the things that were planted would grow and thrive, and so that maintenance would not be a problem in the future. So I had not had any further discussions by the time I left. I understand that Shelley has met with them, I believe, in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, they came in and she talked to them, but we still have the 2 bonds outstanding on them, and I'm pretty sure she kind of told them we need to finish what we have going, and then we can talk about future amendments to see.
One of the concerns I had was with the lighting plan, because originally they put up the bond to finish a lot of that work, but they still don't have their parking lot lights.
Right. And the stormwater pond hasn't been completed.
Originally, they brought in temporary lighting, with like a freestanding generator, the kind you can see on a construction site.
Right.
But those are gone now, and the lights still haven't been put in.
Okay. I know the lights had been delayed. I thought I'd seen lights installed.
Yeah, we have lights in there.
Yeah, I believe last time I did, I'm
fully
pretty
lit,
sure
that whole
that
place
they
lit up like a
finally did that. You're absolutely correct with that. They had some temporary lighting for a long time.
No, because you go there.
But yeah,
So,
they
It's
should
like
be all
a baseball
installed
field
now.
at night now.
All right, well, as long as it's lit, because I remember that being an issue that they didn't have lights in the parking lot.
Cheryl's correct too. They're still working on converting the sediment ponds to full stormwater facilities too.
So, I'm satisfied. Thank you, Tim.
Okay. Anything else planning related, other than conservation, which we'll get to, since we opened that door?
We know about building inspector.
I don't have a date, I have not seen
I know
it.
Susan did a walkthrough with the exterior, not walkthrough, a walk around from the exterior of the building about a week ago, but she's not been inside the building to approve anything, so they're still working on the mechanicals.
A while back, we said October. I don't know later.
People ask about that.
Potentially October. Okay. All right, that's preliminary. Maybe we can reach out to Karen and see if we can find out. Maybe we something out. Okay, I don't see anybody from the youth council. I don't think they've met. I know the last meeting, they didn't have that last meeting. Do you know if they have another meeting coming up, Cheryl?
First and third Wednesday, I don't know, they haven't met for a while.
Not scheduled yet, yeah. Well, during the summer typically they haven't, but you know, there's a couple things they're trying to wrap up.
And I sent him an email and asked him if he wanted to meet during the day, that he could do that. Didn't hear back.
Okay, well, maybe he's checking to see if we can make it. They do take summer jobs and so.
Whoever's gonna be in contact with them, we had this dropped in our mailbox, I guess late yesterday. The fall 2018 winter sweep, which is where, you know, you put on an orange vest and walk up and down the street picking up Coke cans and litter. I thought that'd be a great thing if they would consider doing that. I'm already doing it along Waxhaw Highway with the Humane Society, but I thought this would be nice if we could get maybe the youth committee at least run this by them, see if they'd be interested in it. Sure.
Cheryl, if you can get hold of it.
Okay.
Just forward that document.
I think we have an email from them as well, if I remember correctly. At least I got it. Okay. Next item on the agenda is the Park and Rec Committee report. I saw John. John?
I can give you a little update on the youth committee. With Parks and Rec, the youth committee got out about 20-some volunteers to the park, and we started construction of a stone wall around Rotary Club Garden. It was a great turnout. We had a good day. Nobody got injured. We made a lot of progress, and they're planning to schedule another day to come out and help finish it. So, not a whole deal to report on Parks and Recreation. The last meeting, we reviewed council's actions from the July meeting. Talked about the landscaping, which you know you've awarded to Unity Lawn and Landscape. We talked about the fact you're going to rebid the pond maintenance contract, which I believe you're going to review tonight. The one thing we did discuss is that it may be beneficial to have, if possible, the same contractor for the pond as for landscaping, because then consideration can be given to any treatment on the grass that's going to run off into the pond, and so there may be a benefit in the coordinated activities under one contractor. We talked about the irrigation system and the vast differences in pricing. We suggested perhaps contact the designer of the system to ask if they could technically review the two bids. I did that, and he was willing to do it, but not for free. He said $100 an hour, it might be a few hours, and he would happily technically review the two bids. I think since then there's been other activity, and it's become apparent that there are very significant differences in the quality of the equipment that was specified.
Actually, Lucas, which was the second bid other than Unity, pulled. Can you confirm that, Cheryl? They pulled their bid?
Yes.
Withdrew their bid, excuse me.
Yeah, I think possibly when they found out the cost of the right specification materials, but they didn't have enough money.
And I think they said too, if they're not maintaining it, they don't want to be like who did what in the park and whatever, so.
All right, so I know you're going to review that again. Then we talked about the electrical work, and that we were, although that a decision has been made on the contractor, the suggestion was to delay starting that work so we only get the trencher out one time and only dig trenches for the electrical when we're digging trenches for the irrigation system. We went over the bid process for the amphitheater band shell.
Excuse me, John, before we move on to the band shell, on the electrical system, we actually approved the money for the electrical upgrades in the 2017-18 budget. We're now in the next year's fiscal budget, and Cheryl told me we have to pull money and put it back in to have the work done again. Is that something we need to do now, or are we going to wait on that?
Do we need, I mean, how soon do we need, are we talking trenching from, not where the pond to the electric is, but the one across from it? Are we trenching from that panel to the?
There'll be
For the electrical, there's three trenches. One is going to the flagpole,
Okay.
one is going to the stage area, and one is going to the location for the power supply for the irrigation pump.
down by the pier.
But we only want to bring out the trenching machine one time to try and save some money.
So besides doing the trenching for those three electrical upgrades, there's also going to be the trenching done for the irrigation system. So the idea was to tear up the grass just one time, and also make sure that you know where the water is and where the electricity is, so they don't end up intersecting. Because somebody told me once, water and electricity don't mix.
You have to test it out and see if they trim like.
All right, so on the amphitheatre bid process, went out July 23rd. July 30 was the pre-bid meeting which I attended at the park with the architect. One contractor showed up, didn't have any questions because he did the job before. He was advised that the electrical had changed a little bit, but the structure itself is the same as the old drawings. August the 6th was the last day for questions, and I think amendments. I think only one amendment went out, right, Cheryl?
I thought they got pulled back because it was irrelevant.
Pardon?
I thought they got pulled back because it was an irrelevant addition.
The amendment.
The amendment, wasn't that pulled back by Trump?
No, it was the bid form that was pulled back, but there was an addendum.
There was an addendum, okay.
Was it for electric?
No.
No.
It's on the website.
The bid deadline is August the 16th, so you'll get bids in this week, and then Parks and Rec plan to review the bids at our next meeting, which is August 21st, and then make a recommendation to council.
Well, as long as we got George here, let's talk about a scenario in case this comes up. George, what do we do if, I think we sent this out to 20 different people to bid on for the band show. We only had one person show up for the pre-bid meeting, and what happens if we only get one bid?
It could be anywhere from 40 to over 100,000.
Yeah, so it's, you've got to get 3 bids, you have to rebid it.
You have to rebid it, and then
Is it
if you, at the second time, if you don't get 3 bids, then you can still move forward at that point.
All right. If the bid is over 100,000, is that the point, or is it?
Yeah.
What's the dollar amount?
For the construction, it's 30?
30 something.
30,000?
Yeah.
We don't expect it to be over
I'm gonna forget
100.
the threshold, but you're within the threshold where you have to rebid it.
38.
To go through that process, and then if that rebidding shows that you don't get it, then you can negotiate with the one or the two.
All right.
The
So we shouldn't even open it. We only get one bid.
I would,
okay, so we don't open them if we only get one. Only open them if we get 3 or more.
That's why I wanted clarification on that.
All right, so that'll happen this week. We'll know this week whether we need to rebid it or not. And if we do, we do. The updated drawing were resubmitted to Union County by the architect, and everything was cleared for permit with no concerns about anything. So the permit's in place, ready to go should we get a bidder. I reported to the committee that we had a group of 3 high school kids monitoring the pond chemistry for the past few months, which was a great project for them. They wanted a project to put on their college application, so they did a science project around the pond to look at the water chemistry and the effect of barley straw on controlling the algae. The pH has gone up, but that's only a result of the increase in the pond water temperature and the reduced solubility of gases. But great little project they did. We spent a lot of time talking about the public information session. As you know, for a Part F grant application, we have to have these communication sessions with the citizens and get some feedback. So we put together some ideas for phase 2 in the park, the bathroom, children's playground concepts, and we're pretty close to being ready to present that. I need to pick some dates with Cheryl, and we plan to review the final draft of the presentation at the next Parks and Recreation Committee meeting. We talked about events at the park.
Excuse me, John, on the public meeting, roughly when were you planning on doing those, before the end of the year?
Yeah.
Okay, so
It's all, we're starting with a Part F application deadline and working backwards. because we're going to have the public information sessions. We're planning to have 2 at different times of the week, so more people can attend. And then from that, possibly a survey to get additional data, because that really gets us the points to get grant money. And as you guys know, Cardiff have said to us before, there's a lot of money available and they like our project and they'd like to give us some more. So we want to make sure that the public has a lot of input to what we do next in the park, if anything, or here at the town hall, because we're going to ask, do they think the playground should be here or in Puck? We then went on to talk about events. We already know there's the Work for events, and Parks and Rec were planning to organise some other events because Friends of Parks and Recreation don't have enough bandwidth to handle any additional events. We were talking about one at Christmas with carols, carriage rides and cocoa, but given the schedule of the amphitheatre bandshell bid process, we've decided to not do that this year. Because if you guys decided in December what to do about the amphitheatre, we've got 90 days construction, we've got October, November, December, we may not have the amphitheatre ready in time for that event. And then we had the same discussion around the music festival in the spring, because if we have to rebid and then council delays a few months, we might be pushing right up to a spring event and still have the bandshell under construction. So we decided we'll talk about the music event at the next meeting, but it's all going to revolve around what happens with the amphitheatre bid process, you guys approving it, and then the 90-day construction period. We talked about a flag raising event. As you know, the flagpole's up. As soon as we get that electrical in, we can then have a permanent stars and stripes flying in the park. We're hoping we get that done by maybe the fall bash, and then we can combine the flag raising ceremony with the fall bash, possibly Labor Day, if not at some point later. Then we went on to talk about the park gate. As you know, we've had ongoing maintenance expenses with people crashing into the gate. So we talked about the need to possibly replace it with a different mechanism rather than a swing out gate, a slide out gate. We've since then got a quote in from the gate contractor, and it's not inexpensive. You remember what it was, Mike?
It was $9,127.
I remember I looked at that once and said, what if a gate just slides into a track and you can't push it out? But yeah, it was like 8,000. Well, that was a couple of years ago. Jeez.
It's very similar to the one over by Target.
Target.
That goes into Wesley.
The problem with the barn door style, it swings open and swings closed, people put their car up against it and just pushing on it until the gate breaks or bends.
So apparently they have plastic gear in there for that reason, so that if you really got trapped, you could get out.
Well, we've bent and rebent, we've welded and rewelded, we've
What
done a lot
money
of,
we've spent already on that gate.
yeah.
So in preparation for council's consideration of that, I asked Cheryl if we could go back and maybe sum all the maintenance expenses we've had on the current gate, so you guys can look at, this is how much it's costing us to fix it, this is how much it will cost to replace it. So we can come to you with a recommendation supported by some numbers.
John, what do you think about a camera there? Because I've looked at the option of having a camera, so people know they're being videoed at the gate.
Yeah, it would be lovely to send the person who ran the gate a bill for fixing it. I'd love to be able to do that.
So we got George for that one.
Yeah.
But currently the gate is not working,
Yeah.
and much to the chagrin of the neighbors. They're not happy with the fact people go in at night.
So there was some concern raised at the Parks and Rec committee meeting that if you guys decide to replace the gate, not take away monies from other things we got, because we trimmed down the budget as much as we could. We shaved and shaved and shaved, so we don't want to see something being sacrificed for the gate.
Well, I think the gate would fall under safety and security to some degree.
We discussed general signage at the park. A nice one will be, please don't ram the gate. But simple things like the park rules aren't up, the park hours aren't up. Those of you that were around when we built the park will know that when we had to shave money, we took all the signs out except the absolutely necessary ones. So we think now might be the time to put the signs back that we took out from the original construction. So I've taken on the task of getting some prices to have a park rule sign made and just find off-the-shelf signs about opening times and the last thing we talked about was the contents of the container. When we had the volunteer day, it was the first time we'd been in the container for several years, or at least myself. We opened the container to get some tools out for the youth council volunteers and observed there appears to be an awful lot of stuff missing from the container. So we plan to do an inventory when Mike and I can find a day. Don't know where it's gone, but sometime over the past 2 years, there's stuff gone missing.
I will tell you, 2 years ago, I was, Janine and I were there also. I never saw what was in it to begin with, but she said there were cords and trimmers and...
We
I
took inventories annually and we gave it to Cheryl. So Cheryl has a full inventory of what was in that container when we handed the keys back.
Well, I have an inventory that Mike took
2 years,
quite a while back, yeah.
no, I did it 2 years in a row, right on the, it was either the last day of the fiscal year or the first day of the new fiscal year.
And then Linnell
You
took
did
an
the inventory.
inventory, and that's the last one I had.
Yep. But nobody's done one since then and stuff's gone missing. And not inexpensive stuff.
We'll talk about it when we know what's missing.
Just letting you know what's coming. So our agenda for the next meeting, we're going to review the bids for the amphitheatre.
Maybe.
Maybe not. Final review of the public information session materials. We're going to talk again about 2019 events, depending on what happens with the bid around the band show. We thought we'd better take a look at the park rules again. Those were done 2010, 2011. We might need to update them. We're going to talk about the park signs. We're going to talk about volunteer work days again in the fall when it cools off. We're going to talk about the gate repairs versus the cost of replacing the gate. And then fishing pier repairs. I think Mike, you completed them when you were able to do them all and we don't need to.
Doing what?
The fishing pier repairs.
No, the fishing pier definitely needs a professional to come in and take a look at it. I was able to do some cosmetic repairs to the floorboards or the part you walk on, but the structure underneath is starting to show signs of some serious wood rot that needs to be addressed. It needs to be addressed.
So I'm going to explore with NC Wildlife, who provided us with the pier, if they also offer repair services free of charge. And then if not, we're going to have to go get a contractor to look at it and give us some quotes.
Yeah, because what I did was cosmetic and what needs to be done is structural.
Yeah, some of the supporting members underneath are severely rotted, so. Oh, yeah, I mean. there's a couple cases
Wood and
going
mortar,
on.
like electricity and water don't mix to it.
And then
All right,
4
that's
by
it.
6.
Well, John, before we leave, I know we're going to be talking about the irrigation system further down the agenda and the pond maintenance. Do we need to move money now, Cheryl, for the electrical, or is that something we need to readdress at a later meeting?
Depends when you want to do the work.
Well, we can talk,
That's
We're hoping to
irrigation.
do
when we talk about the irrigation system, it's the proper time to talk about it.
Okay. Thanks, John.
Any questions for John? Thank you, John, appreciate it. Item number 11, the Communications Committee report. Got it? Tab by me? Why don't I do that?
Yeah, we have always
We have approved the final draft of the communications charter, and I believe you have that in your packet. Basically, it's pretty cut and dry. It has the committee charge, our goals are in there. I'm not gonna go through all that, you can read that. And the committee procedures, and you know, how we actually do things. If you have any questions about that, I can answer those, or we will need you guys to approve that, or, you know, it has to be approved by council. So whenever you're ready to do that, it's ready to go. Any questions about it?
I have one
Question.
question.
No, I just want to make sure that everybody had a chance to read it.
Yeah.
We have created a Wesley Chapel Facebook page. It is not published, so no one can see it. You have copies of what it looks like, and if you put the two pages together, that's basically what it scrolls down. So it's on that page. We've also written a Facebook social media policy. It's not for all of social media, but it's just a Facebook policy. And that is the very first thing. It's pinned to the top. In other words, it will always be at the top that says what our policies are, if, you know, what will happen if we have, you know, it just tells what the page is all about. And if we do allow comments, it talks about what happens if you attack people, that your comments will be removed, or if you have vulgar language or whatever.
So Deb, I know when this first came up, I mentioned possibly delay in posting, that they can post to it, but then somebody on your committee would review it and then put it out. So like, we have our website in our community, you don't post like live. There's a little delay, like a day or so. They'll tell you, I think 36 hours, what they tell you, but it's usually 24 hours. To just monitor that somebody, we had some stupid thing, somebody just put F you all over the whole thing one day, and the parents were going nuts because the kids, so is that something you guys are thinking about, or?
We'll definitely look into that. Yeah, that's a good suggestion.
Okay.
We'll definitely look into that. And Cheryl will be an admin to that, and the three of us will be an admin to that, all communications committee. So the pages, basically what we want to do is we want to use it as an opportunity to get the news out about what the town is doing, and also I did want to say one thing. There was a page already out there called Village of Wesley Chapel, and the person who had it graciously gave the title up. She changed the name of her page and changed the picture so that it wouldn't get confused with ours. So she was very nice in doing that. So it's now called What's Up Wesley Chapel, I think is what she named it. We are the only town now that, to my knowledge, Mineral Springs didn't get a Facebook page, so now we're the only town that doesn't have one, just FYI. And I wanted to just tell you some things really quickly. I was looking at the best practices for state agency social media usage in North Carolina. And some of the things that they talk about is that Facebook is an increasingly important outreach and community tool for government entities. It talks about social media as a communication tool that facilitates interactive information sharing and collaboration. And it talks about social networking being the hallmark of a vibrant and transparent, these are quotes, transparent communications, and it's encouraged to enhance towns' communication strategies. I spoke with Mike Parks. Now Mike is the communications director for Indian Trail, and they have 6 Facebook pages. But like we have one for Parks and Rec. So I mean, it's just different, you know, activities in their town. They only have one for the town of Indian Trail. He does allow the community to comment, but I've found that all towns allow the community to comment. He said that people will go to their Facebook page before they'll go to the website in a heartbeat. He said that they use Smarsh, I believe it's called Smarsh, to archive their social media. They have 6 Facebook accounts, a Twitter account, and Instagram. And theirs costs $4,000 a year. Now, if we just have one Facebook page or 2 or whatever, I don't think it probably costs that much. But what they do is they archive. So if you have a public records request, they handle it. And Mike said it makes it very easy for the town because they've had some. It's right there, it's archived. But one thing that I found interesting, if you do remove, say you have someone in the community that says something that's inappropriate, you can hide that comment. Not delete it, but hide it. So the person who made it can still see it. but nobody else can. And but it's still there if you need records. It's still there, it's not deleted. He said that the Facebook pages are more successful than a public hearing as far as gathering consensus with the community. He said they treat their social media like they do text messages and emails. And he said every once in a while a person will put a curse word on there. They just, like I said, hide it, and it's not a big deal. He said as for allowing, because I told him we were considering not allowing public comments on the page, he said, then you better not do one. He said, why do one? You know, he said, if you're not going to allow the public to comment, they're not going to go to your page. He said that it's easier to not allow public comments, yes, but he said you're not going to have people as engaged to follow you. By allowing the community to have some feedback and ask questions, it gives the town a chance to clear up misconceptions and get out extra information. So anyway, that page is up there. It is not a public, so you know, we will not make it public until you guys approve it. Hopefully, you will be able to approve that. And our next meeting is August 23rd, and that concludes my report. Oh, and you'll see that down there, the mayor's on there, and he's got a welcome to the community and a little comment about, you know, hey, welcome to our page and that kind of stuff. So that is the actual page and the way it'll look. And the social media policy will be pinned to the top, so it'll always stay at the top. Yes, sir.
Question: how do you prefer we give you information to post on Facebook, whether that's the town council, parks committee, the youth committee? How do you want information given to you to post?
Mm-hmm. Well, anyway, you've got the three of us. We can put our names out there as far as, you know, here's our email. This is if you want to get in touch with us. I can give every, like Parks and Rec and the different agencies, like the Youth Council, we can give them our information so they can contact us, email us, call us, whatever. Cheryl will have access to the page. If she finds out something, she will be able to post things on there too.
Anything you have, you really should copy to the clerk, because otherwise their personal email gets subject to searching if someone has a request.
Okay.
And they don't want that.
So you want us to forward it to you, and then you'll forward it to Deb?
Yeah, or at least just copy me. Yeah.
Okay.
And we really need to have a comprehensive policy, I think, before we get started. Right now, we have 3 people on the committee. You don't know who else is going to join the committee. Is everybody in the committee going to be allowed to post on the page? What if you have someone that starts, you know, has a personal interest and a personal business or a church or organization or whatever? I think we really need to, it's easier to start with a good set of guidelines than to run into problems and then have to back up.
I think our Facebook policy addressed all that. It addressed what is allowed on the page and what is not allowed on the page. It talks about it's to promote, you cannot promote particular services, products, or political organizations. I mean, it goes into details as to what can be on there and what cannot be.
Did we get a copy of that?
It is, yeah, okay. I have one, I'll be happy to give that to you. I may have some more, and maybe I can make copies and give everybody one.
And let me put George on the spot here. George, with other dealings with other municipalities, do you see any pitfalls that we need to be proactively sidestepping?
I mean, the thing is, you just want to be careful. The hiding of posts is an interesting suggestion that I hadn't heard of or thought about, because that enables you to not to maintain the public record. So I think that's a great idea. So you don't get into an issue about whether or not you're complying with the public records laws. And then having an archiving policy about how long these are archived for, how long the pages and the posts are archived for.
Well, and that's the problem too, is that Facebook, it's been said that Facebook keeps them. Well, we're responsible to archive them, not Facebook. Facebook can pull off your page for some, whatever reason they come up with. So we need to be able to archive the data and we have to go by the state records retention policy.
Right. So something needs to be put in place to accomplish that. And I don't know, I'm not IT sophisticated enough to understand that.
But the company does it.
There's a company that other towns hire to do that.
We're not reinventing the wheel.
Right.
There's already a solution out there. We just need to figure out what it is.
Right.
I've heard this SMARSH of doing other towns, and every time I've heard 4,000, so I don't know if that's a base rate or what.
Okay.
I can find out.
Seems like it wouldn't be though, since we've got. We only have one page, I mean, we're two.
I think there's more homework that needs to be done on that.
So Deb, let me just
So
throw,
we haven't seen the policy, so that's the problem.
Okay.
I'm gonna throw one more thing out there as far as the, just businesses. So let's say someone's been contacting me about farmer's market, getting a farmer's market back. So if we have certain farmers out of here, would we be, if they said, hey, it's Mike Como's chicken farm in Indian Trail or whatever, I mean, was that something we would allow? I mean, they're here
No, sir.
doing it, so they wouldn't
No,
know.
I mean, we could promote our farmer's market, but as far as being a sales opportunity for people, that's not what we had talked about.
So we couldn't say join our farmer's market and have blah, 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 blah.
Oh, yeah, you could promote, say, we're having a farmer's market, please come and
But
sell
not the
your
company
products.
name or anything.
But, yeah, I wouldn't want to, we might, I mean, it depends on how many we have. We could say, blank, blank, and this farm and that farm are going to be there, come in and enjoy our, yeah, we could do that.
Right,
Or
right.
say
Yeah, I'm just
general,
wondering now.
say produce or,
Yeah.
Right, meats or vegetables. So, and then I just have just two other quick things.
Sure.
One is, as far as the minutes, who will be handling that? Will it be a committee person that's gonna do the minutes? Or are you
For the
looking?
communications committee?
Yes,
We have Leonard is doing those. We have
Okay.
minutes.
okay, so she'll take care of that.
Yes,
So,
sir.
I guess what I'm trying to figure out is, because then we're paying for those minutes for somebody to come in and do, so that's just my question.
Mhm.
And then just a comment, I'm anti-Facebook 100%. I am not on it. I think it's ruination of so many relationships and people. But I also have to say, it's a great tool
Yeah.
because, like you said, it's a real benefit for people to go into Facebook and do it. I'm just personally I just feel that there's too many things, and I mostly to youth, honestly.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
I think in this case, it's a great
Double-edged
idea.
sword, definitely a
Yeah, it
double-edged
is a
sword.
double-edged sword stuff.
But it's also an excellent location for us to post our planning board and not our planning board, our council meetings.
Yeah, and I think the video of the council is
Mhm.
excellent. I mean, I understand, it's.
It's just a way of engaging the public, and we
Yeah.
can, when you get the public saying, they coming on and looking at that, and then actually getting comments from them. I mean, you can use the comments you get, at least Mike said, he uses the comments he gets on Facebook as a public hearing, as though he would use it as a public hearing. Because what it is it's the public giving it comments about this, that, or the other. So if you say we're having a meeting on conservation zoning, for example, and then, that's come to our council meeting because it's going to be on conservation zoning or whatever, and then you have a bunch of people talk about it. That's people take up the opportunity to give their thoughts on things. And I'm not saying you will use those legally, but you know what the public feels.
I was gonna look at George and say, yeah, I don't think they'd be legally considered open meeting comments. But anyway. John, you
A question, two questions on this about posting on Facebook, and maybe this is for George. Would there be any concerns about privacy issues if we're posting pictures of events or video? And secondly, would we be held liable for any maybe slander or some comments, something like this, since we host the forum? Then either one should be turned on.
On the latter one, generally speaking, not. On the former, I mean, if you're out at a public event, I mean, you don't have an expectation of privacy, so there would be no difference really there between the newspaper taking a picture. Generally, I prefer if you're singling out a minor to get the adult's permission to share that picture, but that maybe even also a little more careful than you have to be.
quick one, John?
Yeah, I'll just make a comment on your second question. I watched some legal debate, and it was about if you take editorial actions, picking and choosing what is displayed or not, you can be construed as a publisher and then subject to all the liabilities a publisher has because you're picking and choosing. You're taking editorial actions, which then makes you a publisher, and you can get in trouble just like a publisher.
I mean, I think the thing to know too, I mean, following off of that is the laws around social media are ever changing. I mean, there could be a Court of Appeals decision tomorrow relating to some case, and it just, you have to always be paying attention to it, but
that's why you're here.
yeah. Yeah, it's you could be doing something today that the current law says is A-okay, and then there's a change, just because the technology changes so fast and the world around it changes so fast.
Once we get a Twitter account, once the Facebook page is approved, then we'll look at Twitter and Instagram and other things. That's why we don't have a social media policy, we just have Facebook policy, because there's no reason to have all of it when we don't have anything but Facebook. And so.
In a perfect world, George,
Amanda?
A couple of comments. I'm excited. Great job, Deb. I know you worked hard on this and did a lot of research. When we say we want to post the videos, can we also put a link to the stuff Cheryl posts, like the audio? Like, could we include?
Bob is actually looking into live streaming the meetings.
That's awesome. And
So,
Bless you.
I would think we could. The ones that we have are on YouTube.
right.
He has a YouTube page for the town, and so it's just a link, and it goes back to the YouTube page. So I would think we probably could. I don't see why we couldn't. I'd just link it to the website.
Yeah. I'm okay. I like that Beth's taking your notes because I know you are all volunteering. So having somebody taking minutes is a lot. So having somebody do that is nice for you. I have reservations about all 5 of the potential communications committee members being able to post or moderate. I think it might be a better idea if the chair and vice chair can.
Okay, that
Like
sounds
to limit it.
okay.
Because people do get hacked also. People's Facebooks get hacked and stuff gets posted without your permission. And I would put the Facebook rules in here too.
Okay.
And we have version numbers to show that we are constantly updating
Sure.
and being vigilant about how we're enforcing it. But that way, so if somebody clicked on it, they'd have everything about it in one spot. And I'm excited.
Thank you very much.
Cheryl, you have a copy of the policy?
The Facebook policy?
That's the only one, so if you can take copies and get it for us, or image it, or whatever.
Sure.
George as well, please.
Sure.
I'd like you to take a look at that, just to make sure.
Deb,
We're not
we
going to
have
adopt
a
the,
photo
charter?
release form.
The charter week,
Photo release, we have one.
sorry,
Sure.
I missed that.
We have a photo release form, if there's a picture of someone that we can get them to sign.
Oh, for the
We
Facebook
put
page.
pictures on the pier bulletin board of people that caught a fish that are
Right.
proud of it, and many times they're little kids, and we make them sign that form before. we
Right.
put it.
Okay.
No, we can certainly consider the charter tonight, but I don't think we can consider it the Facebook page, because we haven't seen the policies yet. George hasn't looked at it.
Okay.
I want to keep, as much as I'd love to get it moving, I love the work you've done as well. And as I say, that was a big thing at the town dinner, is to the retreat, or the event, sorry.
Communication.
That's communication, and so we're taking steps, we're taking good steps.
I apologize. I thought I'd emailed it to all of you, the policy. I apologize.
Well, I can at least motion that we accept the charter.
Okay,
I'll second.
motion second, any discussion? All those in favor? Thank you.
Okay, thank you so
I
much.
also wanted to thank you and the committee, especially you. I don't know how many saw it, but there was a 20-year anniversary, which we turned 20 as a town 2 weeks ago? 3 weeks ago now? July 18th, isn't it?
15.
15th, that's right. Duh. July 15th. And Deb did a article in the EJ, which I was fortunate enough to be part of, and so I do appreciate that. I think it was good, again, to keep the history alive, so to
Yes.
speak, because that's what you brought back into the discussion. So.
It was fun to write too. Thank you for all your help.
George, in a perfect world, we wouldn't need you.
That's absolutely true.
It's not a perfect world.
Yeah. My wife says that too.
We don't use this.
Yeah. Okay. Item number 12. Consider the approval of the Conservation Subdivision Text Amendments Ordinance 2018-08. And I'd like to thank Tim for gracing us with his presence yet one more time. I think this may be your last one now. Appreciate it. Do you want to kind of introduce anything?
Yeah, let me just say a few words. This is a product of a long process with you as a council and your planning board. You all have spent a lot of time on this. This is something that was anticipated in your land use plan. This is specifically mentioned in the goals and some objectives. It's an alternative way of subdividing land to allow maintaining existing lot count while giving incentives to developers to be creative and work with the land and to have a greater ability to retain trees and open space. It also allows the developer to obtain a lot yield while reducing infrastructure costs, particularly with less street construction. And also it's an opportunity to improve the quality of life, and as anticipated in the plan, as recent conversation talked about the value of retaining your tree canopy and the heritage trees that have really been a part of your ordinance. As I said, this is a long process, and you all have battered out the differences, and so I think you've got a draft now that you feel there's been some consensus about. So, and there was no one in opposition from the public this evening, so the staff and the planning board have recommended the version that you have. Actually, what you have is a kind of amalgam of what you all had come up with the planning board. So,
I think there was a tremendous amount of good discussion. I mean, it took a while, but I think rightfully so. In many instances, I think we ended up with a better product, hopefully for the community. Okay. I guess. Do we have any particular questions for Tim first, before I ask for a motion?
That's all. Thank you, Tim, because I know this really had. I've learned so much about this whole policy and planning and everything just to begin with, not just because of this conservation, but in general, the whole. It's so much work involved. But so I appreciate your help with that.
thank you.
Like I said, between Tim, the planning board, and council, we put a lot of time and effort into this, so that people didn't think we just penciled this through. This was a lot of man hours to get to where we are. So thank you.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and ask for, well, I guess we have to talk about the statement of consistency and the statement of reasonableness. I think Tim has given us some language here, which I'm fine with. Anytime you approve an ordinance like this, you need to have a statement of consistency. So this says the village's current, i.e. 2015 land use plan calls for single-family residential development at a density of one house per minimum 40,000 square feet. The proposed text amendment would honor the overall density, although permitting individual lots less than 40,000 square feet. In addition, Policy 1, under Goal 1 of the plan, contains a reference to conservation subdivisions. Staff would therefore consider the proposed text consistent with the village's land use plan. The statement of reasonableness is the proposed text amendment is found to be reasonable. It gives property owners additional options as to how land can be developed while maintaining the village's desire to maintain its low-density rural character. So, do I have a motion to that effect?
Motion to
Incorporating
accept.
the reasonableness and, statement of consistency and reasonableness.
Michael.
So motion.
Do I have a second? Bill, will you?
Amanda, you want to do it?
I think you are, y'all understand.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
I second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? Thank you.
It's a long,
Again.
long time to get
Wow.
to that
Holy
point.
smoke, someone have a party tonight? Man.
Sure, I will also text Bill Dustin, so he'll be taking.
That's right.
Yeah.
This was a long process. I started this in my last term, which was 2 years ago, 3 years ago. But I think it was time well worth spent, well worth spending. Okay, we're on item number 13. Consider decision on pond maintenance contract bids and any needed budget amendment, which will also need to include a discussion on the electrical that was approved in.
Item 14.
Hmm?
No, we're gonna do that with irrigation, not pond maintenance.
Oh, yeah, well, I had, sorry,
Sorry.
mentally. Thank you. Why you put erasers on pencils?
Well, basically, we had to rebid. Cheryl, could you explain the process we went through? We had to rebid the pond maintenance contract.
Well, I just rebid it, I just sent it out to the vendors, I did not send it to Foster since y'all
I
didn't.
guess
want
for the record, why we had to rebid it.
The only reason was that one of the vendors didn't get their bid in time.
Well, then we only had, we didn't have enough bids.
Oh, we had a lot of bids, yeah, for.
We just thought this one might be the one, so we kind of give him an opportunity, because he thought he submitted the package, but he did it a couple of days later.
Well, actually, he
George said
submitted,
we resubmit.
yeah, he submitted it with the other package, I think is what it
But
was.
it was-
Exactly,
it was 2
2
weeks
days
late.
Yeah,
Right. Thinking it was the same deadline.
so I'll make a motion on this one. So I make a motion that we accept Unity Lawn and Landscape's proposal for the sprinkler system at Dover Park.
Not sprinkler.
Pond maintenance.
Pond maintenance. I think that needs to make.
It's contagious.
Oh, sorry. So I'll withdraw that.
My fault.
I make a motion that we accept Unity Lawn and Landscape's landscape proposal for the pond maintenance, as they're gonna be the ones maintaining the park already, so.
Second.
I've got a motion and a second.
And this was also the recommendation of Parks and Rec
Correct.
Committee.
As well as asked for further discussion, which is where that was appropriate.
Sorry.
Anybody else for the discussion? And we'd have to make a budget amendment after this, so, but all those in favor? Okay. Let's, talk about the budget amendment, and I think Cheryl's got that here, budget amendment for the amount in excess of $3,500, so that would be $1,560.
You have to say where it's coming from.
And we have to say where it's gonna come from, so it can either be from the, I don't know, Cheryl has another spot, but it could be from the, can't think of the name of it right now. Contingency, is that what you were thinking, Cheryl?
Wherever you want from.
So I'll motion to pull from contingency the sum of $1,560 for the pond maintenance contract.
I'll second that.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second. All those in favor? Thank you.
And John, there was a question I had posed to you, I wanted to get on record as well. The overflow, if the main drain for the pond gets clogged, which the pond maintenance contract is supposed to keep clear, there is a weir that runs around the dam. Can you speak to that specifically, of whether that's part of this contract?
It was a line item in the contract, but the outfall from the pond is part of the pond.
Right, it's either gonna be on the landscaper or the pond maintenance company.
That belongs with the pond maintenance.
Okay. Well, it's the same guy, it doesn't matter. Okay. Thank you.
So this contract will be effective September 1st, right?
We don't have a live contract, so I guess so.
Yeah.
Do you need a motion to that effect?
I don't think so.
Well, the other thing I wanted to clarify is the downhill side of the pond, we've had to have that cleared or bush hogged or weed whacked, whatever you want to call it, whether that's going to be included in either as part of the landscape bid or as part of the pond maintenance bid, but that needs to continually happen so that the downward side, not the water side, the downward side of the dam has got to be kept cleared to the North Carolina standards.
Or was it in the, yeah, you have to be careful.
It's all part of the pond maintenance.
Okay, I just want to
It
be
was
very
in the
clear.
package. Okay.
Not specifically identical, but all the bidders had slightly different language, and I didn't see Unity's bid, but all the others had maintaining of the vegetation around the banks of the pond. But I never saw the detail of the Unity. I'm assuming weed whacking the damage in that.
I would have to think there's in there, yeah.
It says here in the specs, control of unwanted vegetation on inlets, outlets, and spillway structure.
Covers that.
Okay, covers it. I just want to make sure that's specifically cleared out, it's not going to be an extra charge.
That's the same language as the rails.
Yeah.
As long as it's covered, I just wanted to make sure we weren't negotiating after the fact. You can't do that.
No. The only other action you guys may need to take is notifying the current contractor of the termination date, so we don't get a bill from him on.
They already asked me when it would be, so I'll let them know.
I think that's
Question
fine.
for
And we need to get our new
Since
company.
Union is here, yes, sir.
I just wanted to, I'm sure this is probably not the most appropriate time, but I did want to mention, we had talked earlier about the irrigation around town hall, and the problems that we had with that.
Yeah, I'll bring that up with the council comments. Thank
Okay.
you for reminding me.
Sure.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Okay. That's all I had.
Okay. We're done with 13. 14, consider decision on irrigation system bid and any needed budget amendment. I think, Cheryl, I think you were on this one as well, just because you were doing the,
Well, this is the one that we only have one bid. I did talk to Union Grove and, I'm sorry, I did talk to both the bidders, Union Grove and Lucas. Apparently, Union Grove had talked to Mike and John, and they had told him about the guy who wrote the specs, and so he contacted him. And he was proposing some different things, and Lucas was, both of them were proposing what we asked for, but I'm not sure exactly why, but he felt that there needed to be a custom-made pump, which I would imagine is expensive, and Lucas was not using a custom-made pump. Union Grove told me who they were talking to, and it was a Charlotte company that would custom-make a pump for the project.
I think the comment that I got back was that Lucas's bid did not take into account the difference, having pumped the water from the pond all the way up the elevation to the highest point. And their original bid did not have enough to even purchase the hardware, let alone the installation and any profit that they would have from that, which is one of the reasons why I think they removed their bid.
I'm not sure where
They
that
did.
came from here. I don't know where that came from.
Because when we clarified what was specifically required, they're like, oh, we can't do it.
No, that's not what they told me.
Well, what did they specifically say?
They just said that they didn't want to be accused of something, that if they're not maintaining the landscaping, and if something happens to the landscaper, then they didn't want to be blamed for, that they're doing, that something was wrong with what they did when they don't have control of the whole situation.
Perfect example of that is I was cutting my grass this weekend, and I have little pop-up sprinklers, and one of them didn't go back down afterward, and I hit the lawnmower and sheared it right off. And that happens from time to time, and
happened here at Town Hall too.
exactly, and that's just part of maintenance. I wouldn't blame the landscaper for shearing off the sprinkler head.
Okay, but let's get on with this
All right.
conversation.
And again, John, what was the recommendation of the Parks and Rec Committee?
To accept Union Grove's bid.
This was different. I think we were allowed to go ahead with this because it's not construction. It's the question you're asking, Cheryl?
I was just asking George if this would be subject to getting 3 bids.
I think we said because it wasn't, I thought we answered that already.
Yeah, we go through this, it's fine.
Okay, George, is it? Good.
Okay,
I can't remember what the original bids were.
there was 8 or, I have it in my thing, the original bid for Lucas, that Lucas dropped out.
Yeah.
Lucas bid 15.2 and they bid 37,000.
Lucas was 15 too, and this was 37.
Okay.
So a motion to accept the bid of Unity Lawn and Landscaping for the
Union Grove.
Union Grove.
Oh, yeah, Unity's gonna do it? Okay, so.
Oh.
Excuse me, Union
Get on
Grove-
YouTube and start looking it up.
Union Grove irrigation system contract.
Okay, we've got a motion. Do we have a second?
John, I know you've been working on this. It just seems like a lot of money for that. We're not doing the whole park. It's that one area. It just seems, so the guy that you were talking to that wants $300 to give you another bid, any indication on what?
No, he's not the bidder, he's the designer.
The designer.
He's the engineer who designed the system, so since there was a technical
He was gonna
debate
look at the
over
two
the
bids and tell
suitability
us
of the
what the
bids,
differences were.
I suggested we go back to the engineer who designed it, give him the bids and say, what do you think, why are they so different?
And then the problem I had last time, not only was the discrepancy in the bids, but it became apparent that the one bidder had a lot more information than did the other bidder.
Right.
So we went to rebid it again. Lucas dropped out for the reasons that Cheryl's already stated. So we're at where we're at. I mean, we got, originally there were 3 bids, I think.
Just the two. There's very little information in the bid. There's really not
Right.
much anybody
There's
can
not
look
much
at.
detail.
There was the page 11 and 11A from the original blueprints for the pond that laid out all the specifications specific to the irrigation system.
Agreed, but they weren't part of the bid package, if I remember correctly.
That was the specs, but as far as what we got back from the bidders, it has 5 line items, and they were, the controller, make and model, the warranty, the cost, the name, the number of zones, the number and type of heads.
Yeah.
There's just not that much there to look at.
Yeah.
There was the drawings, the drawings were...
Those were the specs, but as far as what we got back from the bidders, I mean,
I just think it's just so
We're
much.
having a discussion, and we don't have a second yet, so we either have to have a second, or
John, let me, just one more question. If this wasn't done this year, are we missing out on anything? It would affect the electrical, basically, is what you're saying?
Well, it's kind of a snowball thing. The irrigation affects the electrical affects the band shell. Band shell affects the lighting and sound system, the irrigation system.
I'm gonna let him in. If she seconds it, I'll go with it. Otherwise, it just seems a lot. I can't second it, but I don't wanna hold it up either if it's, everybody wants it.
motion, we don't have a second yet.
So if I second it, we can discuss it.
Yes,
Okay.
doesn't mean you're in favor or not.
All right, I'll second it so we can discuss it.
Okay,
Okay.
further discussion.
No pressure if you don't vote in favor of it. I'm not going to.
Excuse me, Leonard?
Is there a way to accept the bid, or to accept the bid, but wanting clarification on the $37,000 for the custom pump?
George did say that you could negotiate.
negotiate
with
with
him.
it, which is what I would consider.
Well, but
You said.
right, but do you want to set a cap? Otherwise, we'll have to wait till next month to actually approve it then. That would be what we would be doing.
Oh,
Because I don't want them to run away either and say, gosh, y'all are so hard to work with. Since they're the only people who want to work with us.
I know with Orlando, after the bid, we did the value engineering thing to get the price down. So we sat down and had a discussion with the contractor and did value engineering where they could make
That was
proposals
after the
to
bid,
put-
but before we accepted the,
Cheryl, do you remember what the cost was for the irrigation system here at the town hall?
It was around 10,000 a month.
was much less more here, actually.
How much would that custom pump
Probably more,
add,
yeah.
or do we know any idea with the pump? Because it said perhaps the pump's not needed. What
See,
could that be? Like, do
Did
we
you
have
ever
an
consider
idea?
that to be a custom anything?
The pump is the most critical component of the entire system.
It was custom because I went back and looked at the specs. It was a brass impeller, think aluminum housing. I mean, it was very specific for a reason. You want it to last, so we don't have a gate, to be honest.
Is there a warranty on
You've got soft and corrosive water coming out of that pond. You've got to have the right materials for that water.
So I buy that. I don't necessarily know what the cost is, right? I just buy the fact that, I mean, it's like when I go to a mechanic, I don't go to the cheapest place. I go to the place I know is going to do it right. And if it costs a little bit more, at least I leave and I don't break down again. So that's my opinion.
So you
Now,
brought-
is this the right amount? I don't know.
You brought up the gate as an example. If we had put in a different style gate to begin with, it would have been more expensive, but we wouldn't have had all these.
Potentially, correct.
The bid is consistent with what Worth told me, because I asked Worth and Associates, who did the original full package for the park. I called them before we even put it out to bid, when we were doing the budget, and asked about how much do you think something like that's going to cost. And that's the number we ended up putting up in the budget. And the bid is not way out of line with what Worth told us that kind of system is going to cost.
The budget is actually, I just went and looked, 40,000. So, I mean, this is under the budget by 3,000. That doesn't, again, make it very different. I'm just giving you the parameters.
And I mean, I don't wanna hold it up, and I want it getting done right.
As do I.
You know, just trying to be fiscally responsible.
That's why we're having a discussion.
What other outstanding questions do you have?
Does it have a warranty? I should really maybe know that. 3
I
years?
believe 3 years, right, Cheryl?
3 years manufacturer, 1 year labor.
Can I see it?
Sure.
Manufacturer's the pump, which is what you want. 10 years, 10,000 miles, 100,000 miles, sorry.
Gallons.
Gallons, there you go, thank you.
Amanda, would you feel more comfortable if we negotiated a 3-year parts and labor?
$37,000?
Where are we at? Do I wanna call for a vote?
I think that the labor thing would be nice if we could get the additional time on that, honestly.
You want to,
I'm conflicted. I just feel like it's so much money for that one area. I want it done right. I agree with the gate analogy, and I agree with that. Gosh, I just feel like it's,
also keep in mind, since we're pumping water out of the pond, we're not using the municipal water supply.
we save money.
We can save money on the water costs. We get water every day because we're using existing water.
Do they say what the labor rate is per hour?
Do you want to amend the motion to approve the amount with the labor included?
With the negotiation that labor is extended to the 3-year warranty within the
I
parks.
mean, tie them together. And if we can't get it, then we'll have to come back and see what we can get, and then come back and vote on it again in September. One way or the other, I don't care which, I'm just trying to get us moving.
Right, and is there a way to say, we'd like to work with you, or we'll work with you, give us the 3 years labor, but also break down and entirely what the $37,000 is for?
Well, the bid
I
shows
know it's
that-
for the parks,
No, I know what you're saying, I'm just trying to think,
or that, I mean,
then we shouldn't approve it if we're gonna wait for the detail, if we've got more questions to ask. That's all I think. I mean, in my mind, I'm just trying to, once you've approved it, it kind of doesn't almost.
John, you're confident?
Unless we, like you said, approve it with the contingency. about the
The
labor.
designer knows Union Grove very well, and he said they do really good work.
How about, Mike, if you make that motion and say that contingent upon that they approve the 3-year labor?
So motion. Thank you.
Hold on, May has to rescind a second.
All right, send a second.
I rescind my motion or modify the motion
Thank you.
to negotiate 3 years parts and labor on the irrigation system. And if they fail to accept that condition, we'll start from scratch.
Okay, so that's, Mike has amended his motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, thank you. Any more discussion? All those in favor?
I think that's reasonable.
I do.
Yeah.
All those in favor? Okay, thank you.
Now, since we've moved forward with irrigation, is now the appropriate time to talk about electrical?
Yes.
Okay. Originally, you had the electrical, Cheryl, do you remember off the top of your head the dollar amount on the electrical?
That we approved.
That we approved in the last fiscal year,
We didn't spend.
but we didn't spend because we were waiting on the irrigation system to be approved.
Close to 11, wasn't it?
Okay. So a motion, we do a budget amendment. Where's the money need to come from? Contingency? Basically, if it didn't get spent in 2018, in June of 2018, where did that money go? To the general
Fund
fund?
balance.
Fund balance? Okay.
What does it take to do a fund? Because I don't want to keep pulling from contingency, we're only the first month of the year.
I agree. I mean, can we pull it from fund balance, or is
Do we have
that?
to make a budget amendment to do is that what we have to do, to do a resolution? I mean,
How much money was in the park event that was canceled? Remember John's breakdown of the budget for park events? He budgeted like roughly so much for
I think it was like 2,000 per event seed money for the three major events, and then Watt was going to do, Watt was going to do 3 events. Parks and Rec wanted to do an additional 2. But John, when he spoke in Parks and Rec, showed that those 2 weren't going to be possible, the Christmas event or the spring concert, due to construction concerns on the van show.
Would using if it was $2,000 from one of those help offset?
Cheryl, what do we have in event supplies?
We have $10,260.
I don't mind
That was
pulling,
5 events, so it was a little more
I
than
don't mind
2,000
pulling,
events.
I don't mind pulling 4,000 out of that to offset cost.
Especially if we're gonna talk about a date sooner than later.
Yeah, I agree. So if we pull 4,000 from event supplies,
Recreation event services,
recreation event services, what does that leave us?
over 6.
7,000 more.
Yeah, I would pull 6, to be honest. Why would you need?
Well, it was 10 and some change.
Right. So, but if you pulled 6, you're still gonna have 4,000 change, and you're not doing any events this year.
No, we're still full dash.
Well, but
No.
normally that's a few $100s.
No, we've got 10 in for 5 events, we pull 2 events out, that'll be 4,000. And then to get to 11, we still have to pull 7 from contingency to come up with the 10 plus change.
The other thing you could do would be to appropriate fund balance. You could appropriate it from the Park and Rec fee in lieu.
I would rather do that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm fine with that.
that sounds good, actually.
Now, with the 4,000 being taken from events?
You get 4,000 from events and 7,000 from.
We only pulled 1 event so far, we haven't pulled the spring event yet.
Oh, okay, well then you don't want to pull 4,000 from events, because we had budgeted for 5,
We've only pulled the Christmas one.
we've only pulled 1.
Yeah, you're right, sorry. Thank you.
So just pull 2?
No, he's saying that we're going to still
I mean, pull 2,000.
pull
not
2,000.
4.
That would be 9, then that would be 9,000 from
fee in lieu.
fee and lieu monies. You okay with that, John? You take that to the committee?
The better way.
I don't know, for, moving money that makes sense. So, the
And
motion,
then who are we contracting with for the electrical?
Hargit is one that we had already approved to do the work, and they're gonna work with the irrigation company to make sure that their ditches and the water ditches and the electrical ditches are done at the same time and done in different locations. That's why we're trying to do them both at the same. So the motion will be to transfer funds from 2,000 from events and 9,000 from fee and lieu to pay for the electrical upgrades of the irrigation system, the stage, electrical upgrades, and the flagpole.
Okay, we've got a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, any further discussion?
And these people know they gotta work together.
Yes, that's
Mr.
why they,
Irrigation And Mr. Electrical.
That's what delayed it to start.
that's what delayed, since we delayed on the irrigation system, Argon didn't do their work.
Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Who
Thank
was
you.
the second?
Amanda?
Amanda, thank you.
Okay.
Okay. Item number 15. Municipality group, list top 5 traffic concerns. I think this was something Amanda brought to us last time from the group that was discussing.
The last group, they just talked about how traffic seems to be a common concern across all Union County municipalities. And because we share so many roads, one road starts in my town that goes through 2 more. They talked about everybody coming to the next meeting with a list of their top 5 traffic pinch points, just to see if any overlapped or we could work together on fixing some of the problems.
Pinch points or traffic?
I think it's basically the same. Our top 5 traffic concerns, really.
And we know a couple of being concerned, but I mean, Potter and where it meets Wesley Chapel Road is one. And then
You tell me.
84 and Potter is the second. And then Newtown
Cuthbertson.
and Cuthbertson.
Which I believe is slated for a roundabout. is it
Yeah,
not?
that's the third, yeah. I mean, they all are basically, but potentially.
And I know somebody had talked about the cut through between the grocery stores and what is that?
Is it
Target Harris Teeter?
And how that's dangerous with,
But that's getting, it's getting a roundabout. That's part of the 84 widening. So that's
it is
actually
there,
part,
that
yep.
was it?
They had to do something to, because they are not going, as you are heading west, you will not be able to get into Harris Teeter unless you turn down Waxonian Trail Road. They will eliminate the left turn that's there on 84.
Okay.
So that means all the traffic's gonna be coming out of that side on Waxonian Trail Road and needing to get back up to 84 to go the other way, so they're projecting a roundabout. We had a discussion, myself and Ty, on the, he's an alternate on the planning board, and he's also the Charlotte Planning and, Transportation Director, I think is his title.
Yeah, I remember those
Yep.
emails, I just didn't remember that was definite.
No, it's definitely, that one's definitely taken care of.
Wasn't there like, not specifically in Wesley Chapel, but in Union County, I think there was a schedule for like 12 roundabouts. to do
That's
this.
their, and it's not just Union County, I had this discussion with Scott Cole, and it's all over the place.
Yeah.
That's their, it's cheaper, and yet it still keeps traffic moving. It does use up land, so there's a trade-off.
Well, good thing when you fly over it in a plane, you just look for the polka dot state, and you know it's North Carolina. Can't get lost, forget about it now,
There you
just look
go.
for that.
But, so that's.
So that's 3, and I was thinking Newtown and Waxhaw Indian Trail Road is 1.
And that's
Because
supposed to
people
be-
get hit there all the time.
That one's getting done,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, there's a big
You
accident
can put that
today.
down for that one, for.
That's already been approved for roundabout, yeah.
Oh,
So we've got 2 that have been approved.
We've already
right?
given money towards the other one. too.
Potter and 84, and Newtown and Waxhaw Indian Trail, right? Those are our 2 approved.
And power.
Not Potter and 84, that hasn't been approved for
No.
anything, but Potter and Wesley Chapel Road / Potter, whatever it is,
Right.
that's been approved. And then Newtown, Waxhaw Indian Trail Road's been approved.
That's okay, I mean, those are our pain
Right.
points, for sure.
Amanda, I bring up Antioch Church and Huntington Road, but that's going to be addressed when the widening of the road happens. Because there was a huge accident there today, just this afternoon.
I'll tell you, Billy Howie and Indian Trail Road is another one.
That's
There's a
amazing.
big accident this weekend also. Almost every other weekend there's an accident.
It
there.
is,
Really
absolutely.
And the thing is, I remember when they first said we're getting rid of that hill, I mean, they did. But man, it's still, you still gotta get out of there quick,
People are still
otherwise.
flying.
And that's what happened this last weekend. The guy just pulled out, never saw the car coming, bang. So, Billy Howie, it's on your trail.
I think that's fair.
Do you have 6 now?
Yeah, that's 6. But it's
Okay.
good, because we know that 3 of them are being fixed. Is there any other places that are of concern?
Not right now.
Which three are being fixed?
Potter and Wesley Chapel / Potter,
Right,
Newtown, Waxhaw, Indian Trail Road,
right.
and Antioch Weddington Road, fixed with the road widening.
Yeah, 84, they're doing something there. I forgot what the treatment was, to be honest, but. Okay.
I just wanted to make sure to bring it back to council, because I don't go to that group just to talk about my own opinions.
Now that roundabout that you're talking about, Hickory Tavern,
Mm-hmm.
because that's definitely,
Mm-hmm.
so coming out of Hickory Tavern will be the roundabout by the community.
Lindenwood and,
Lindenwood,
Lindenwood
that's-
entrance and,
Yeah.
what's that
Yeah,
called?
that one.
I can't remember the name of the road, doesn't matter.
Coming out of Hickory
Exit
Tavern.
Hickory Tavern.
And for the record, that's gonna be the first and only roundabout that's also on a super street. Talked with the engineer at that meeting, and I said,
For
in front of Hickory Tavern.
34. But then there's another, they've got the big one in Matthews. No, that's a super roundabout.
Yeah, well,
It's
the
So, no,
idea,
I like how they determine it's super roundabout.
the idea of
Two
the
lanes,
Two
super,
lanes going through.
the idea of a super street.
Actually, while we're talking about this, I noticed that the signs are up for our roundabout over here. That little one they put in that was too small. They're saying that the road's gonna be closed August 27th to
I
29th.
saw that. Is that the reason? Does
I think
anybody
they're-
really know?
I don't know what it is. I was
They've got a new
asking
sign just north of the
roundabout.
subdivision behind Lindenwood. I can't remember the name of it right now. There's a huge
I just wanted to-
electrical traffic sign saying road closed 27th to 29th.
Wesley Chase.
But I can't imagine what they're gonna do, Bill, because it's only gonna be closed for 2 days.
I know. that's
So
what
I
was
can't
wondering.
imagine
Well,
what,
it's 3.
okay. It's also the first day of school, which doesn't make any sense.
Right, the 27th, the first day of school.
They're gonna close a major thoroughfare.
Oh my God, I
That's-
forgot about that.
I spoke with somebody who said they talked to DOT,
Well, they did this to us last year.
and they said that, oh, yeah, it's a little too small, but it's not worth fixing it, basically.
I just saw the sign. So
I'll find out.
Yeah, I saw the sign today for the first time. I was
I
like,
don't
yeah.
know what it is. yeah.
So like, I come that way, so I only got
Yeah.
there. So, okay.
I'm just curious, so we know the ones that are being fixed, so out of Potter and 84, Newtown and Cuthbertson, Billy Highway and Indian Trail, what do y'all think is the worst? What they asked.
The worst?
The worst is being addressed or the worst is not?
The worst is not being addressed.
I have to say Cuthbertson and Newtown, because when Weddington starts getting torn up, Cuthbertson and Newtown is gonna be the locals' bypass to get around the construction on Weddington. And that problem's gonna be exacerbated when this road gets torn up.
Which one do you think is the worst? Brad?
I don't know. I could go with that, or I could go with. No, I probably would still go with that. That's been in need of a problem since they put the school down there. That's me. Sorry, it's a piece of laminate I need to stick back on. That's on the edge of the divider here. I keep hitting it with my foot.
And you feel?
I think the same, yeah, because I want to go to church, that people go like 50 miles an hour and they cut around those little things down there, it's crazy. So I think that's, yeah, especially with the kids on the buses going that way and all too.
Thank you, guys.
Okay, thank you. All right. Item 16 is the considered decision on the hiring of planning and zoning administrator. This has been a motion for a while. We got 4 applicants. Cheryl and I interviewed all 4, all remotely. There was one gentleman who actually was in the area visiting family that stopped here, but I couldn't meet him that day, so Cheryl met him. But I think that's the gentleman who actually took another position in the meantime. So the top 2 candidates, the second one, whether second or first, it doesn't really matter. Will Deaton, right? It goes by the name of Clayton. I think his name is actually Clayton. He goes by the name of Will. Is that right, Cheryl? Trying to. So he's got, the thing we liked about him is he has both the AICP and the CZO certifications. One is planning, one is zoning. And he is working in Pinehurst, so he has more familiarity. The other three were actually out of state. One was Florida, one was Tennessee or Kentucky. Yeah, I think I have the resumes here if you want. Yes, Charlotte asked it all, but in either case.
Lexington, Kentucky.
But we did like his responses to some of the questions we posed, the what-if type things, and his interest. So, and, you know, I think Cheryl and I in the end agreed that we would recommend offering the position to Will with a proposed date, start date, the Tuesday after Labor Day. Tuesday, September 4th, if at all possible. If he wants to start a little later, that's okay, because we've actually got coverage from InFocus for the entire month of September.
That'll give us 3 weeks of overlap?
Right,
Okay.
easily. So, he had requested, we did access to all the candidates, what they were looking for in terms of salary, because we did not post a salary, which is basically salary commensurate with their experience. We are suggesting a starting salary of $73,000. And
But is this a full-time position, or 3 days a week, or 4 days a week?
4 days we're open, 9 to 5, sorry.
So full-time.
Plus council meetings,
And
planning board meetings.
And planning board meetings, correct. And all of that was discussed on the call with all of the applicants, as far as the evening meetings.
Brad, since you and Cheryl did the interviews, I'll go with whatever your recommendation is.
Yeah, it was kind of hard to figure out how to best to do that, but, you know, in the end, I think Cheryl and I did a fairly good job of the interviews, and we're pretty comfortable with, as I say, the responses. Certainly from 2 of the 4 candidates, we would have been, I think, happy with either way. And he's one of the 2. So, and the other one, as I say, did accept another position somewhere else. And it was kind enough to call us and let us know.
Is he able to start on September 4th?
Well, I can't offer him a position because we haven't moved it. So I don't know, but as early as is the way I kind of focus the motion. You know, I'm gonna give him some time. It's only 2 weeks away, 3 weeks, not 3 weeks. So,
Is he currently employed?
yes, Pinehurst. He's in Pinehurst, right? Cheryl?
Yeah, 20 to present, Village of Pinehurst.
Yep. He's done some various plans. He's done some text amendments.
Done for Canapolis.
So,
Do we need a motion?
yes, we do.
The only thing I saw that was a little weird was that the City of Canapolis, February 2018 to February 2018, January to February, 1 month. Is that right? Or was that
Right.
a typo?
No, I believe that's correct. And Cheryl, I think you asked him about that, so if you would.
Or was that Cheryl, 1 month?
Yeah, and I also talked to the planning director from Kannapolis, and he spoke well of Will.
We did check references.
I think what Will told me was that he had accepted the job in Kannapolis, and then Pinehurst contacted him, and it just sort of fell in his lap. And I think he felt it was a step up because it was a full planning and zoning administrator job. So he's only been in Pinehurst since
February.
February.
Right.
That did concern me a little bit.
That's what I'm wondering, like, you know, as a business owner, he's here for a month, then he hops over here, he's here for a couple months, and he's hopping over here. But you know, the truth is, you never know. So,
No,
really-
and it was very upfront that this is a one-stop shop, as Tim can attest to. You know, it's a one-stop shop, and he's gonna be doing everything from soup to nuts. We actually did talk about, good, I think I'm glad we're talking this through a little bit. We also talked about the code enforcement as well, and he was comfortable with that and has done some of that type of work.
now, I see he's located in Fayetteville, so he'd be relocating here, obviously. So he would drive out from
I'm
Fayetteville.
assuming so, you can't ask those kinds of questions. If he wants to commute, that's his
I think that was part of the problem with Kannapolis. It got a little confusing, a little complex, but it's like 2 hours from Fayetteville to Kannapolis also. And it's a solid hour from where he lives in Fayetteville to Pinehurst where he works now.
Right. Because I know when I travel to Fayetteville, it's two hours and 20
When my
minutes.
son was there then.
Yeah,
Mhm.
so I'm just wondering, you know. Yes.
So I'm looking for, I mean, that was our 4 applicants, and as I say, Cheryl and I,
And what was his last name with that? You know what?
Deaton.
Yep. Clayton William Deaton.
All motion that we offer the position of William Clayton Deaton, for the amount we've discussed, starting September 4th, if it's convenient for him. With the understanding we'll have a 3-week overlap with our current planning and zoning staff to be brought up to speed with our current situation.
Do you
I said
want
salary, that we discussed.
Do you want to include the other things, the salary and also a budget amendment would be needed to move the accounts around?
Budget would be a second motion.
Okay.
Yeah, we did a second motion because I had the other motion. Do I have a
The
second?
motion did include the dollar amount we discussed.
It did, okay.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Any further discussion? I will add one other thing. We did check around and the salary range is about right. I mean, for that kind of a position. It does range anywhere from a low of 60 to, you know, up to 80.
Well, no offense, it's less than we pay in focus, right?
No.
Not when it's low, no.
Yeah.
No?
But we're having more days a week.
No, the problem with the amendment is because, the problem with the amendment is because of, we've got the overlap period, basically, 3
Right.
weeks. Big budget. Anyway, I just wanted to make
It
that.
is a little bit lower than what we pay.
Okay.
Yeah. And
For
more
3
hours.
positions.
Yeah.
I like the consistency for one.
But also those benefits, that's the difference.
But
It
it
depends on how you
doesn't
look at it.
it doesn't include the benefits, that's just
Gotcha.
the salary. Okay, so we have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Okay, thank you.
But Bill, I share your concerns with the longevity.
Yeah.
Well, let's hope that,
We looked at it. No, we did.
let's hope that's not a factor. I don't want to be doing this again from December.
No.
All right, we frogs.
Okay, then we need the budget amendment. How much did you think that was, Cheryl? Up to 2,000?
We can move amounts that we won't need from in focus to the salary and to the fringe benefits, and we still need another 2,000.
Right, okay, so I need a motion to move the professional services to the salary and fringe benefits account and approximately $2,000 for contingency.
So motion.
Okay, do I have a second? Done? Okay. Any discussion? All those in favor? Thank you, appreciate that.
Do you want to make any kind of a contingency motion if he does not accept the position? Rather than having to wait a whole month before we even
I guess to repost the position is probably, one is
Thank you,
repost
Tim.
the position, second would be, thanks Tim, the second would be potentially looking at extending the focus contract. So,
Could you put a salary in it if we have to repost it?
We
Because I
can.
think that did deter a lot of people from applying, because we didn't say what the salary range was.
if you ever look at the Southern, what is that called, We Get magazine, and a few of those things, more than half of them pretty much say salary commensurate with experience. I mean, but I'm fine either way. If that's what the will of the council, see if we get a bigger, turnout, I'm all for it.
You might want to put a salary range at least. I mean, there's some planning jobs that go for 35,000 and others that go for 100,000, so.
Right,
you know,
that's what makes it hard, there's a big variable.
yeah.
Well, that's why I narrowed it to 60 to 80. We
Yeah.
might-
Especially if he's willing to do code enforcement as well.
Yeah, I'd say 60 to 80. So if you.
Salary range 60 to 80, resident all experience.
Well, let's cross that bridge when we come to it. I wouldn't even mind getting together for a special meeting if required, but hopefully we won't need that.
Well, we can just say if he doesn't accept.
So we can just add it on now, right? Just say-
I would do, say if he doesn't accept for whatever reason, we repost the position with a salary range of 60 to 80,000 as was originally, as described, as the position was described.
I'll make a motion that we do that.
Okay, thank you.
Second.
All those in favor of getting, I don't like this tennis. Yeah,
You should sit on the end so you can just walk down one way.
I'll sit out there. All right, thank you. Okay, item 17. And this was I call it a repair expense process improvement. It's kind of odd, thank you, George, kind of odd to have Mike getting ready to do something, having to get hold of Cheryl before Thursday and be able to go pick up the items, everything as set aside. I would much rather, I think if I laid it out, but basically, to be approved in advance, having been budgeted by the town clerk, administrative finance officer, is the best title to use in this instance, and then a list of those expenses provided to the council at the following meeting.
I've never spent any money on repairs that wasn't already approved by council.
Right, understood, but in order to do that, to have the card, the Lowe's card, which I know has been a point of contention, so I'm not saying it isn't, but I think if we structure it correctly, we should be okay.
So here we have the purchase of over $500, right?
I think the only thing I changed was the first paragraph. The rest of purchasing policy was,
See, the thing I was gonna bring up here is it says, when the sum of several purchases needed to do necessary to complete a single project is 500 or more, this limit shall also apply to contractor or similar commitments. I think this was, I know with Janine, it was a big thing about a project. So the park is one project. So if you say, well, I'm doing the fence and I'm doing the pond and I'm doing the, like, honestly, I don't have a problem if you get the card. I'm just gonna be upfront with you. I just think it's a responsibility that you're taking on because you're the one that's gonna be, responsible for it.
The advantage of is 5% discount on materials, and we don't pay tax, because we can recoup the tax amount. So we're saving, for the last project I did was repair the fishing pier. I think we spent $400 total, and 5% on materials, 6% on tax, plus we didn't have to go through all the hoops of, here's my receipt, reimburse me, here's a check, take it to the bank, reimburse myself. It just streamlines the process and saves the town money.
Yeah, I noticed when I went through the financials, I saw there was like a fence for $113. You did some repairs or something on this past month. I mean, I always look at the numbers. So I'm just saying, hey, I don't have a problem with it. I mean, you're taking responsibility for it, and we'll see it on the statements.
Well, for example, last week.
So maybe we just included Cheryl going forward. We just get the Lowe's statement included in our package. Then we know, okay, Mike spent this, Mike spent that, just another. I don't know if you guys are okay with that.
check and balance. I mean, that's what I was trying to get through in this, and I don't mind that idea either.
I don't think I can make this motion, so it's going to be up to you guys.
You don't get a financial benefit, so actually you can't.
Oh,
There's
well,
no
I'm
financial
not going to
benefit
make
to
the
you.
motion.
It would just sound weird.
I'll
Well,
make a
there
motion
isn't.
to make this card
I'm just making
pending
a
current
personal benefit.
Do you,
And then we'll get the statement. Copy of it.
Okay? So you made the motion?
Audrey Man's gonna make the motion.
She did.
I'll
She
make
did.
the motion to
Okay.
approve Mike Coven to be issued a village-approved Lowe's charge card, and further to use it only on budgeted expenses that are approved in advance by the town clerk finance officer. All such expenses will be records and provided to the council as part of the following month's consent agenda as an FYI to all council members to ensure transparency.
Okay, have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second?
Thank you, Bill. All those in favor? Appreciate that. Thank you. Item 18. Consider modifications to the purchasing policies regarding conferences or seminars. And this came up, actually, which Paul was here to talk about it, but Paul saw, I'm trying to remember what it was, what the conference was. But the notification or his knowledge of it came out after our last meeting. And so he asked if it was something he could attend. Well, our policy doesn't allow me to prove it. You know, or Cheryl or anybody else has to come before the council. But the seminar was
Before our meeting.
either before a meeting or the registration closed before the meeting. I don't remember which exactly it was. But in either case, I didn't know and we had reduced our budget from last year in conference and seminars, actually.
Because last year we had new council.
Because we didn't use it.
No, we had new council people last year, so it was higher than last year.
Oh, but for that too. That's right, thank you. I appreciate that. So the idea really was to either allow, and I put myself in there, but it doesn't have to be me, it could be the finance or both of us. Make it joint to make it a little more approval if anyone wants to go to a particular seminar. And it has to show value, it has to add value to the community, meaning
That's where it's
tangible.
subject to interpretation.
It can be. I don't doubt that. I just wanted to make sure that there was an opportunity for this to be heard, and if we don't want to do anything about it, I'm fine with that too. But I also said I would bring this forward.
I think that notice is given to a lot of, most of the reputable conferences stuff is, notice is given. And if we see something last minute that we want to do, we can use our council stipend to go do stuff. We're compensated for our time, so
True.
if I saw something last minute come up, I could use the money I earn as a council person to go do what I wanted to do. And it was too late to ask permission.
To elaborate on what Amanda said, if it's focused toward municipalities, they know that they have to put it out 4 to 6 months in advance so that it can be discussed and budgeted, and it's not usually a last minute thing, at least if it's something focused or related to municipality business.
Well, I think this was the league, if I remember right.
It had been out for a while.
Which I think was probably out, he only became aware of it. So that, I think what we've got to say, and if that's the case, all we need to say is we all just need to be more aware of it in advance if we want the town to pay for it so they can be heard. Is that what I'm hearing?
That's how I would interpret it.
It was I think the only instance I ever heard of that was an issue.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
just wanted to make sure.
it's really like a non-issue.
No, it wasn't anything huge.
Yeah.
I perfectly fine, but it sounds like we have consensus. I'm not going to ask for a motion then.
It just died.
In favor. It died. Okay. Okay. So, I want to thank Mike on this next item at 19, which is to consider a purchase of the village seal plaque for council chambers and any needed budget amendment. And why I say that is, we've talked about doing something in the town hall for a while. I've talked about adding to our image of Wesley Chapel, etc. From the time we got a local artist to do the seal. So, and that's the perfect spot for it behind me. And anyway, so Mike originally reached out, and I didn't know he was going to do it, but he reached out, which was kind, to a company, and they came back with a stainless steel plaque, 32-inch stainless steel plaque, which would be etched essentially. Because you see different kinds out there. You see kinds that are embossed and raised. Our seal, based on its design, doesn't fit to that kind of. After talking to two different companies, to that kind of process is the word I want to use. But the stainless steel plaque with the etching could. The stainless steel plaque with the etching, though, at 32 inches is. And I think I have a picture of it here. You guys, it should have all been in the packet.
Yeah, I was sitting here.
Yeah. So again, it looked like a pretty good representation of the seal. That's kind of what it looks like. It'll be essentially stainless steel with a black lines in it. Which, again, is pretty. I don't have necessarily a big issue with it. But then after I saw that, I just poked into the internet, great tool, and this company that's out in California, Art Sign Company, I think it's called, Art Sign something. They have not given us a proof yet. They won't do that until they get a deposit. But what her feedback was, and they have done some for other towns in North Carolina. If you go onto their website, there is quite an array of seals that they have done, and in different formats. And they have the raised. They said our seal doesn't really fit that raised type. And then we were talking about something similar, and they were in that. But then they said they could do it in what's called trying to remember the name, HDU, high density urethane, I think it's called, but it's very dense. It's not like styrofoam. So, and they showed me a few images. I mean, again, on their site, you can see a few images of it. Well, it could be done in full color. It could be done 40 inches, which is 41 and a half between this line here and this line over there. Mike had measured it. So, and it could be done, as I said, full color, which to me represents the artistry more, at $923, plus another $130 for shipping. And I thought that was...
Plus installation. Nail.
Well, it comes with a hanging kit, so
Okay.
I'll hang the damn darn thing, sorry.
So if it falls on your head, it's just.
If it falls
That's right.
I'll
It's
lay
up
over
to him to
here.
make sure it's on there good, because he'll suffer.
I'll wear it accordingly. So, went back to them. What they will do is provide what's called now, where is the word? Art proof, an artwork proof for your revision or approval before they do anything. But what they will be doing is actually doing some etching in the HDU as well to give it a little bit of a depth. So I thought that was good. And then I went one step further and I said to them, well, sometimes I know it'd be cool here, but we've got a business entrance with a nice big wall on it in the foyer there. As well as this foyer, we've got two big walls. Now, I don't want 4, but 3 I thought was applicable. One as you walk in, one here, and one in the other. So if you order 3, you get a 10% discount, but the shipping goes up from $130 to $230. So you save $300, but you add $100 back for shipping, roughly. So altogether, 3 would come to, with the shipping, $2,722.10. I thought that was extremely reasonable, and they have a pretty good, from all the seals out there, as you can see, across many states and many areas. Yes, sir.
Make sure if you're going to put polyurethane outside, it's UV stabilized because it will degrade
No,
pretty quickly.
all inside. No, I would not. No.
Lobbies and up here.
Okay, not
I wouldn't even take the chance.
Okay.
Fades away to white.
The reason this came up is every time I go into the Monroe Town Hall, you go in the lobby, there's a big metal, aluminum.
Yeah, this is
Yes.
way past due. This should have been part of our grand opening.
Well, I think we have money budgeted specifically, Cheryl, for town hall furniture or amenities or
Artwork, I think it all.
artwork.
Something.
So there's money there too that we budgeted for this.
Is there still money in there? I thought we moved that. I know you guys had money in the last budget.
We do have money.
I think
We left it because they were.
Did we?
we talked about taking it out.
I didn't think like that, I'll be honest.
Because we talked about pictures in here.
Right.
On the walls.
I was asking.
We have 5,000 budget.
Oh,
Yeah.
hey, even better.
Did their prices, I'm just curious, include sales tax?
That's out of state.
They're in
I know,
California.
but there's a new law.
It only goes into effect in October.
So you don't order.
We order it now.
No,
Did they say how fast they would ship?
Well, actually, no. They said 6 weeks,
5 to 6 weeks.
they would get us an art proof, I forgot what they said.
So our current
Pretty
turnaround
quickly,
time is
but
5 to 6 weeks.
5 to 6 weeks turnaround. Yep.
5 weeks right now.
So it'd still be before October.
So if you make a motion, just say plus tax.
Okay.
Plus any other.
If applicable.
So I just think the full color version, as I've said, and I'm kind of selling it, so, that I just like that because it's, again, going with the artist's conception that we essentially approved. I like the other one, don't get me wrong, but
I really like the black and silver option, at least for in here. It seemed a little bit more formal, a little bit more,
I'm not so formal, so, you know,
well, yeah.
except for the suit, you know?
I mean, I'm thinking for the lobby, maybe, but for public lobby or the service lobby, I know there's a 10% discount if we order 3, but I'm leaning more toward try one, put it up, see if we like it. If we don't like it, that one goes to the lobby and we get a different one.
But you're gonna get 3 for half the cost of
You know, either way, we're not talking about a
the
ton.
first one.
We're not talking about a ton of money, and I agree with Bill, this should have happened during the building of the Village of Wesley Chapel Town Hall, not, here
Well, we
are.
didn't have the seal till after
Several years
that, actually,
later.
I don't think, did we? I don't think so.
Yeah, so I'm.
I'd actually like to invite her, and I can't remember her name right now, which is terrible, but that's how I am with names, so.
I should remember it too.
She lives in Lindenwood, so I know right where she is. I'd like to invite her and even perhaps present her with, you know, like the plaques we've been giving to people,
Was it
council
An-
members that
Was
live
it
in.
Angela or?
Angela, yep, something Necky, something,
Yes, I know what you mean, yeah.
not Lubinecki.
Lubinecki.
Lubinecki. Give me one of the names, I'll get the other. There we go.
Would the 3 foot be too big for the small lobby? Would it be like, you know?
I don't think so.
3
It's
feet
not
from
as
it?
big as you think, 3 foot. A yardstick is only yay tall.
Okay, I'm just wondering.
I mean, I'm only 5'9", I'm shrinking as I get older. So you figure it's that big on a big wall. It's my opinion. Take it for what it's worth.
I just hate to buy 3 off the bat and then realize, well, maybe we didn't like them, or maybe these were fine for the lobby, but not for the council chambers, but I'll go with wherever the group decides.
Well, here's the other thing I'll say, and I'll add to it, and I meant to add it to begin with, so it's not because of, when she sends us the artwork, I am more than willing, you know, again, we approve it conditional upon approval of the artwork by the council. And I think we can do that, I think we can do that portion through email.
I have
Not
no
without
issue
responding.
spending the money as long as we get something that looks good.
Well, that's what I mean, that's why I wanted to get the proof and circulate that to all of you, and then you tell
Would she be
me.
willing to do it both? Proof?
Sorry?
Would she be willing to put up 2 proofs, one of each type? Because there was one email I was looking for, I couldn't find it. It showed a picture of this with the seal already up there. They just photoshopped.
That was from your bank,
That's just, yeah.
the guy you got.
Okay. I'm fine with spending the money.
When I'm hanging pictures in my house, I always like cut out a piece of paper that's the size of what I'm hanging up. You could do that, Sheriff, you think 3 feet is too big?
I just wonder because it's like looking at a big TV anyway.
I don't think so, because it's, again, the image is not that big, so, when you think about it. So the images inside, actually that'll bring it up to a nice size. That's my opinion.
Just be thinking how beautiful a town is.
Because how big is the one, where's the other one, out in the lobby? The paper one we already have, how big is that one?
What people?
For the seal?
Yeah, it's about 3 feet.
No, it's probably 24
or something, yeah.
What do you think, Schwartzman?
I approve the funds to be spent in order to do up the different quotes.
Oh, if that's it, like a motion to purchase the 3, contingent upon the council approval of the artwork proof from the center, for the total of $2,741
Plus.
Up to 3,000
plus tax.
plus tax. Well, I think if you say up to 3,000.
So I'll make the motion that we accept this company, artdesignworks.com, that we order 3 of the village seals for a total of $2,722.10 plus tax if applicable.
Second.
It's bigger than 2 feet.
Yeah.
That's bigger than 2 feet.
Oh yeah, it is good. That's around a 3-foot looking thing.
It's about 32, I would guess.
I should find that other picture.
Anyway,
Yeah.
that'd be cool.
Yeah.
That's just me. And we'd be starting to decorate this as well.
So are we hitting the 36 or the 40?
40.
40?
Yeah,
So the
because
opening,
this
it's
is 41, right?
41.5 is the opening.
So we have plenty of room.
It's gonna be tight.
Of course, an inch on each side. It won't be bigger than that, I guarantee you. It's like when you buy a 2x4, what do you get? You get 1.5 by 3.5.
Yeah.
That's what you get.
You just have to say all in favor.
So we have a motion
I
and a
heard the
second.
motion.
Can we have a vote?
Not yet.
No. Okay. All in favor? Thank you. I appreciate it. I've been wanting to do roadside signs, but I'll take this as a start.
Well, that was something I was gonna bring up,
Okay,
comments.
council comments. Which way do we want to start tonight? Amanda?
I'll go.
You good? Bill?
No, I said I'll go.
Oh, you go. Go.
When I was looking at the deputy's report this month, I noticed there were 24 alarm calls. And when Brad and I had met with the sheriff's office earlier this year, they had talked about maybe instating an alarm ordinance, to say, not so much to generate revenue, but to stop wasted time from the officer going out to check repeated alarm violations. So I have emailed Brandon to ask if his report lady could generate the number of alarm calls over the last whatever. And unless I missed it, he hasn't responded back. So I'll try to follow up with him and bring that to the next council meeting, because it will save, we can get more bang for our buck by not sending an officer out 24 times to repeat offenders. And I don't know how many of those are repeat offenders and if they can look that up, but
They should be able to give you locations.
so, worth the thought.
No, great.
I think it's good.
It's a good idea.
We're on the agenda.
We're doing more, we've opened the door for conversation, communication like this with them. Let's keep it going, especially when we need it. Anything else? Bill?
I just want to say I feel good that we're progressing along and getting things done. You know, things are getting done. And, excuse me, who's that? I got to pause. I can't. That's on video, right? Okay.
Illegal.
I just-
Audio, anyway.
Yeah, let's get the symbol up there too as I speak. No, I just feel like we're finally getting stuff done, and it feels good to be moving forward. So instead of like constantly fighting each other backwards.
No, appreciate it.
I got 4 separate items. You talked about signs. There was an issue with the county wants us to be part of the meeting for the wayfinding signs. So if you drive through Waxhaw, Waxhaw will tell you where the library is and where the town hall is and where the park is. And there's little signs directing you to Cane Creek Park and Jars and all those kind of things. Indian Trail has very similar signs. They asked us to be part of that, and we're like, well, we don't have anything to point to, other than the park. And then if we did something in the park, the road's gonna get torn up, so where would we put it? So we're working on the process at the county level, but I didn't think was to. If somebody throws a brick through this window tonight, and you put it in line, we gotta replace the window. We're not gonna wait till the next council meeting to fix the window. We're gonna go ahead and just fix it. Now, I know the sprinkler system isn't a busted window, and we've been apparently dealing with the irrigation system for a while.
There's been a couple of repairs in the past, but I'm not aware of anything currently. This is new to me.
I mean, we have to do that with the HVAC, right? If something that happens.
HVAC or anything else, so I guess what's the
We haven't
level?
budgeted a lot for repairs, so we
Okay.
So I guess the question,
It's gotta go through the finance officer to make sure it's budgeted.
bring us a list of what it is and how much, yeah.
So current state right now, the ballpark you're playing in is somewhere just short of $1,000 for repairs. What the repairs list is, I will have to get to you tomorrow because my right-hand man is not here.
You mean you couldn't stay around until 9 o'clock or
Yeah,
9:25?
He's not gonna stay around, he needs more than $1,000 to stick.
He's
So
an
we're gonna
hourly
get that
employee.
information, and I just didn't want it to be a,
I don't think we have that budgeted, so that's a lot to me.
okay. Well, I'm not making a motion, I'm just bringing it to the council's attention. The other question I'd ask Cheryl was about this before tonight's meeting. In the consent agenda, we approved for the Board of Adjustments, bringing on, renewing 3 people, but also there's one person that left. We're short on people for Board of Adjustments, and it is on the website that we're looking for regular members plus alternates. So if you know of anybody who wants to be on the Board of Adjustments, now would be the time to see if we can get those positions filled. And last but not least, you guys all know I sit on the Board of Directors for the Humane Society of Union County. About 3 weeks ago, we had a board meeting scheduled, power went out. And I had about 45 minutes to find another venue because the power over at the clinic was out. I called up Brad and said, hey, can I use the conference room? He said yes. And I was the big savior for the big meeting that we had. The question the ladies wanted me to propose to council was whether the nonprofit Humane Society could use the conference room for 4 more meetings this year. Basically 1 meeting a month for the last 4 months. September, October, November, December. And there may not be a meeting in December. If this needs something that we can just say, oh, I don't want to make a motion, but if everybody's okay with that, if not, I'll bring it back next month and make it a formal motion.
I don't have a problem with it.
I think it's a good idea. I mean, I don't necessarily, no, we made the decision to spur the moment because of the immediate need, but I also think it's a nonprofit, and I think, and since it's not gonna encourage Cheryl to be here, or me, or anybody else, because Mike's part of it, I think it makes sense.
But hopefully by January, we'll have a building built. If not, I'll come back to council and ask for permission for additional meetings if required.
So we have a consensus.
All right,
I don't think we need a formal vote. We do have a policy about rentals, don't we?
listen,
All right, so then, let's just make a formal motion that we will
can't,
absolve
Kind
can't,
of fees related to
the fees related to the usage for the Humane Society.
can't, council comments.
So motion.
Oh, we said we
Can't
can't.
do council comments. That's why I can bring this back next month if you guys want to make it formal.
But you have a September.
Yeah,
I'm just trying to meet the need.
I'm trying to meet
You're
the
right.
need too, but
You
I
made
don't
it.
want to violate our
We said-
own policy.
You're right.
That's right.
Thank
So
you.
let's just get, we have talking about it, and then you call up as an emergency next month to Brad and say, power's out again. Just do it, and then we'll vote
He's
on
got
it.
it on film now.
I just want to throw it out too,
That's why it's filmed.
I had a call from somebody today, and it was related to the schools, and it wasn't from the school, but it seemed like it was maybe a parent. I'm not sure exactly what it was, but, you know, I told her what our official policy was, sort of, you know.
What is
That's
it?
fine, because you don't know what
Kind
that
of
is.
blue,
This,
you know.
we know exactly what it is, so. But
Myself and 9 ladies in the conference room for about 2 hours. So I also wanted to make sure you guys knew that I did use the conference room last minute notice without talking to the rest of the council. But Brad graciously agreed to let me do that. So that was it. That's all I have for council comments.
Brad, can I ask you a question?
yeah,
Did you ever talk to the?
we are going back and forth, but we have not gotten together yet. Their biggest thing was another rumor going around that they would only have a right out of their Blackstone when the road widening was done. That's absolutely not true. It's false. I had asked that 4 months ago. From Scott Cole, I called Lee Ainsworth, who was the Division 10 engineer, and he said, no, I'm looking at the plans right here. He says, absolutely not. The concrete median will end just before the entrance, but that doesn't prohibit them from making a left out of their subdivision.
I mean about the trees.
I know what you meant, but I'm telling you, that's what we was, little side conversation, but that's what they were amped up about. So I was solving that, and he knows we need to get together about it. I'm telling you. Listen, if you wanna run the meeting, I'll just sign back out. I mean,
Sorry, Brad, I apologize.
and I don't have a vote. Anyway, I say my vote will be it's not excused absence, but it doesn't matter unless it's a tie. It's just three of you. There's no ties. Look at it. No, the only thing I wanted to mention is I am very pleased that as Bill already said, but I don't want to repeat that. But you know, again, we're making progress, we're moving forward, and we're tackling things as they come up. You know, and I've seen everybody willing to compromise and come to a reasonable path forward on those things, and that's exactly where we need to be going as a town. I mean, we all live here. We all represent all four people in this audience, and so, you know, the audience is bigger than that earlier, but it doesn't matter than the people out there. So I think that's, again, what we need to keep in mind, who we're representing, which is the entire community, not just a subdivision or a project or whatever. It's everything. So, and that's just my appreciation after what are we on, 7 months of hard work. So, or 8 now. So thank you all, and that goes to Paul as well. So now I will take your motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second?
Okay, all those in favor?
Sorry,
Aye. I mean, aye.
I have chicken cutlets and
The guy from my community reached out to you.